Hello, and welcome to the Valley. Today, I am your host, Janet Michael. We are live in the studio for Public Safety Thursday. Captain Warren Gosnell from the Frederick County Sheriff's Office sitting across the desk from me with all kinds of paperwork. You don't normally come with paperwork.
Let me say this, Janet. Let me just say this and get it out of the way. It's hot. Here at the radio station where I worked many, many moons ago, the men's room was always known as the hottest room in the building for whatever reason, because the rest of the building could be cold in the wintertime, and you go in that little bathroom and it's like a little sauna.
Yeah.
Today, it's the coolest room in the building, and so let's go there and let's do the broadcast, because in the gear today, and
it's a lot.
The 100 degrees and the heat index of 115, and some guy got stupid on the interstate on the way over, so I had to get out of my car and had to write him a ticket. And it's just like, what did I do? And I'm like, what didn't you do? It's like, you passed me, you passed four others, you cut in, between a car and a tractor trailer. He goes, well, I really didn't think I was speeding. And I'm like, let me ask you this. Start early to the holiday weekend. Traffic is heavy today. We've got a fatality on the northbound side. Here we are southbound. I said, how many of the four cars that you passed do you feel weren't doing at least the speed limit? And, of course, this is with traffic going by, so I'm yelling to be heard, and he's cupping his ear, and he goes, well, I guess no one. I'm like, well, there you go. So, yeah, it's hot outside. And so as a quick public safety reminder, all humans, if you don't need to be out for long durations, don't be out. If you don't need us to be out as far as first responders, please don't call us out if that little dispute between you and your neighbor because the neighbor's dog pooped in your yard, if that can wait till this evening, the poop will still be there, and we'll be glad to come out.
And you can take a picture. It's okay.
And that leads me into my next. It's like, hey, be mindful of the pets.
Right.
We've got a couple of outdoor cats. I forced them in last night. The one was kind of like, hey, as long as I can lay on you, which was like, great. Leo is like, hey, yeah, okay, but here's where I'm going to be. And then Miss Gray was like, nah, let me out of here. And so eventually we let them out. So, but if you can and you're able, at least make sure they have a shaded area, some water, something like that.
Yeah, we're careful with ours. They usually like to go out and lay around, and they're not even doing that. They go out, they do what they need to do, and they're like, let us back into that air condition. So,
well, and so I had meetings this morning. I had telephone meetings. I had an in-person meeting with a couple judges and some clerks. We're talking about our photo speed enforcement system. And then I had follow-up phone meetings with some folks in Chattanooga on the way over here. And I'm like, okay, now I got to go because, again, someone needs a summons. And so just a quick shout out down in Chattanooga, Kayla and Jose are both listening in right now because I gave them the website link. I'm like, if you want to hear it, you can hear it. It was almost like a dare that I wouldn't say their names on the air. And I'm like, look,
they just don't know you at all.
I've been dared not to say other things on the air, and I've snuck it through.
Yeah, it's just last month, as a matter of fact.
And the sheriff told me, as a matter of fact, we were going to talk about the move over law. We had a deputy who was recently struck. Her vehicle was hit while she was blocking traffic for a scene further ahead on a 4-lane highway. She had her emergency equipment on. She had just gotten back in the truck, thankfully, and an impaired driver, we believe to be impaired, didn't hit the brakes, didn't move over, didn't do anything except cream her in her 2015 Ford F-150, which is now a total loss. She is okay.
Good.
Was sore for a few days and all. We had her evaluated.
And probably traumatized.
Well, and, let's hope not. But she's back on duty.
Good for her.
But the sheriff wanted me to talk about the move over law, and he said that I could quote him that things like this piss him off. And I said, well, Sheriff, I will quote you on that. I don't know how the radio management team will feel, but here I've done it.
We'll find out soon enough.
Well, when it comes out for the podcast, bleep it out.
The podcast, it doesn't matter. So you're perfectly fine saying whatever you want on the podcast.
But see, and the point is, I guess what we're trying to do, if anybody knows Sheriff Milholland, he doesn't raise his voice.
He does not.
He doesn't wag his finger.
No.
And he does, and let's be clear, to some people, they're like, is that a bad word? It's like, okay, it's not one of the 7 bad words, but it's one of those words you generally don't use in public, and we in our profession try not to use unless we're talking to each other, behind closed doors, and then we are wagging fingers. But this tells you the degree to which this this particular event concerned him.
Right.
And how the fact of we have now been preaching about this law for years. No more of the I didn't know about that. If you don't know about this, then you need a driver refreshment course anyway. Oh, and quickly before we move on to the business, Kayla and Jose, you now owe me dinner. So
yeah, let's get that in.
Yeah,
you're going to have to go to Chattanooga to get it.
Oh,
but
twist
I'm sure
my
you have
arm.
no problem
Twist
with
my
that
arm.
either. And technically, since it's my show, you should have to take me with you so that I can meet them and have dinner.
I might be taking the clerks down there for this meeting that we need to have about new laws and legislation that'll come out because we want to make sure everything's good to go. So, you and I, we have a good time. We're in here. It's the preamble to the holiday weekend, the 250th. Someone else dared me to say America on the air. So there you go, Alyssa.
I still don't think you pronounced it right, but
America.
Okay. Is that how?
Yeah, it's America. It's apostrophe MERCA.
Oh,
America.
Okay.
That's the way we say it when we're saying it like that.
Yeah. That's a loose term.
It's like I'm going to stop telling people what I'm doing the radio show because
Right.
it's like,
Yes.
I bet you won't do this. It's like, well, I bet I will.
Yes.
I double dog dare you.
Hey, well, and since we are live on the show today, and you were just talking about not being outside if you don't have to be, Sharon Gromling from the Our Health campus just sent me an email. They have cooling tents set up downtown in Old Town Winchester on the Our Health campus. So if you need some water, you need to get into some shade or some sort, they've got tents set up downtown on the Our Health campus. So
I
it's
can
always
tell you,
nice.
in the lobby of the Frederick County Public Safety Building, we have a large cooler with ice and water. And so we've left it mainly for delivery drivers and such. But anybody that would need, if you're in the area, walk in, air-conditioned lobby. The seats aren't the most comfortable, in my opinion, but I'm also wearing 30-plus pounds of gear that make my hips wider than a double wide in the trailer park. But still,
That's a topic for a whole nother show.
Look, I can take this off.
Yes, we're not talking about that.
So,
we're also not going to go revisit the conversation about you in bicycle shorts.
I don't even remember having that conversation, but I do have pictures. Look, I used to be young, and I used to do the activities that young men in my profession do. Now I'm not young, and I've earned that right to not do those activities. If I'm going to be a part of the torch run, I'm not the runner. I'm not the guy on the bike. I'm the guy in the car going, move out of the way, people, we're coming through.
Right? You have earned that.
Speaking of which, the Relay Across America is coming through Frederick County later tonight, Friday morning in the overnight hours. So that's going to be taking place. We'll give people a heads up. Should not impact traffic, and especially with Friday being a holiday for a lot of folks. We're still trying to nail down the exact times, but we're thinking somewhere between 2 and 4 a.m. It'll be entering Frederick County on Route 50 West, and we will provide an escort and visibility for these folks who will be carrying that flag and have carried it from the West Coast,
right,
and trying to get to D.C. in time for the celebration on the 4th. But later on in the morning, it'll be going through the city of Winchester before then exiting and finishing out Frederick County into Clark County. So that's coming up, something to be excited about, especially if you're into running. I've told you before.
I don't run to my car in a
You
thunderstorm.
run from me, I'm going to run after you, but it's just going to be to keep you in sight till one of the young bucks comes blowing by me and tackles you.
Right.
And then I'm going to be standing above you going, you didn't get away, did you, punk? But I've been that guy. I've caught a few before. So I digress. I'm excited. We've got a lot of good things going on. I don't want to take away from the seriousness, again, of the move over law, especially this weekend. First responders are going to be out. We're going to be answering calls for service. We're going to be out on proactive traffic enforcement. I'm letting you know right now, yep, America's only going to see its 250th celebration once, and you're here to see it. We want you to continue to be here, and we want others to be here. If you celebrate too much and you get behind the wheel, doesn't matter. The fireworks you were going to see are going to be later on in the courtroom because we take this matter seriously. And days like today are the days I feel that we see more people behind the wheel in an impaired state. And I'm going to tell you why, Janet, and then we'll go to break. Okay? Here's why. you have a day like today. It is so hot that it's got that haze to it.
Is.
You can see it when you look off into the hills and the mountains. You see that haze, that oppressive, just weighing down humidity, heat, and that's what drives the heat index up, which is a difference when I'm in Vegas and it's 100 degrees and it's still a clear blue sky.
Right.
And that sun is sizzling on your skin. Let me be clear, put the sunblock on, but you don't have that oppressive weight that you feel from that humidity. But out here today, you can see it. And so we're encouraging people, hydrate, take in more fluids. Well, some of the people choose something other than Gatorade and water and orange juice. Maybe there's orange juice, but there's something mixed in with it, or you're drinking beers, you're drinking wine, whatever to keep you cool. And you may not realize that while you're working to quench that thirst, while you're working to cool that core, that body temperature in your core, you may be partaking more than you usually do or at a quicker rate, and then add the heat on top of it. What happens to people, Janet, when they're in the heat too long, regardless of what they're drinking, if they're drinking at all? You get that heat exhaustion effect.
Yes.
So imagine that kicking in at the same time your body's fighting that, but you've given it something that tells your brain, hey, everything's fine. You feel good. And so you don't realize
how
that
bad
you're
you are.
overdoing it. And so that compounds, and then people get behind the wheel, or they start suffering medical emergencies out and about. So this is the time where we emphasize even more. And now put that on top of the 250th, and we're going to have parades, and we're going to have fireworks, and we're going to have cookouts. You got to be smart about this, folks. You got to be smart, because I can tell you, the crash that you all are broadcasting about on the interstate, that is a fatal crash. And so we're not even into the holiday weekend yet, into the official counting period, and someone has lost their life. I'm not saying it's due to impairment, too early for anything like that, but those are the kind of things we want to avoid. And if that means us, and I'm using air quotes, everybody, ruining someone else's holiday by taking them to jail for driving impaired, then that's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure you get to be here for America's 251st anniversary and on.
Right.
We're going to do our best to make sure that you also get to be a part of that.
We're going to take a break, come back, talk about new laws. Does that work?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll do all that when we come back in just a couple of minutes.
Wherever there's a need in our communities, there's a United Way. Improving lives so everyone can thrive. Where more people can gain access to health care and nutritious food for their tables. Where more community members can benefit from financial education and get connected to local resources for housing support. And where children are given more chances to reach their full potential. Community is where we find our strength and where we share our hope. United is the way. Visit unitedway.org.
Welcome back to the Valley. Today I am your host, Janet Michael. We are live.
I'm pointing at Janet right now because I don't want to forget this thought, and then you
We're
bring
live
us
in
back.
the studio with Captain Warren Gosnell from the Frederick County Sheriff's Office. Go.
Here's Kip. Kip Miller just gives you a slap to the face weather forecast. Hey, it's going to be 100, going to feel like 180, and da-da-da-da-da. Kip Miller in the Weather Center. Have a great day. And it's like, Kemp, that's like the officer who goes, here are your 4 summonses, here is your court date, have a good day. And walks, don't tell me to have a good day. Just say,
right?
I'm Kemp, that's your weather, see ya.
Yeah, stay cool, people.
All right. Have I said it's hot outside?
It is more than, and I've given Kemp grief because he has done those forecasts, and then he's talked about a cold front that's moving in, and then he'll say that we'll take our temperatures to the upper 80s. I'm like, how is a cold front making it in the, but yes, that's a Weatherwise podcast. I'm almost sure Kemp has done a Weatherwise podcast on that. So before we get into new laws, I have a question for you from Niki Foster, Front Royal Warren County Chamber of Commerce. Mm-hmm. She asked me this question at the end of the show yesterday on the air. Mm-hmm. She has seen an increased number of individuals driving on Main Street here in Front Royal and going the wrong way on Main Street, and they're going on Main Street, and then they realize that they want to park, and so they're making a U-turn on Main Street, and then parking on the other side of the street. And sometimes they're parking in the wrong direction. Like people are coming one way and they see a space on the other side, so they just cut across the other traffic and then they park with their vehicle not facing the right way. She's sure that that's illegal. I told her it was illegal and that those people needed mental health advice.
All right, so it sounds like you have like a multi-pronged question, because at first you said they're driving the wrong way, but I don't think that's what you meant. They're crossing the road facing the wrong direction to then park facing the wrong way,
in
correct?
Some cases, yes.
All right, I can't speak for the town of Front Royal, whether or not they've developed a town ordinance, but they probably have, since they have a parking authority. In Frederick County, we have a county ordinance when it comes to parking. You cannot park facing oncoming traffic. So even in subdivisions where people park in front of their houses along a curb or whatever, if traffic is flowing northbound and you're parking on the northbound side, you have to face northbound. You can't park facing north on the southbound side. And I would feel confident that Front Royal probably has something similar to that, in as much as crossing over to do that maneuver. Is Main Street lined? Is it double solid line?
I believe it is.
Well, you're not allowed to make any type of maneuver across a double solid line in the opposing lane. You can't pass. When people get stopped and sometimes cited for U-turns, and they're like, well, there's no sign saying that I can't make a U-turn. You don't need a sign, because the double solid line indicates no crossing of the line. The time that you can cross that is when you are making like a left-hand turn into a driveway, an entryway, or whatever. And if you look, most businesses, most larger areas that have an entrance, the double line breaks to show that you can now cross. Now, does that mean every road where there's a double yellow line, there's not a house on the other side, especially a two-lane road? No. And so common sense, people. But a U-turn maneuver where you are actually making that type of maneuver in front of oncoming traffic, whether traffic is coming or not.
Right.
If a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, it doesn't make a noise. If you don't stop at the stop sign and no one's there to see you not stop, is it still a violation? Well, how'd you get the ticket if no one saw you run the stop sign? So, again, you may think...
The heat is getting to you, my friend.
You may think someone didn't see you make the U-turn, but obviously we did, and that's why we're here. So my answer to that would be they're not allowed to do that either. So probably a town ordinance that says, hey, if you're going to park, you have to park in the direction of the direction of travel of traffic for that lane.
Yeah, and that's what I told her. And then I told her those people were crazy and stupid. But I told her you probably wouldn't say that on air. I gave you the benefit.
And I wouldn't be limited to just that off the air. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's past July 1st. We're sitting here live in the studio on July 2nd. New laws took effect yesterday.
You know, there's a plethora of things. And let me just be clear. We're not going to talk about the hot button topics that are still in the discussions and there are court proceedings about and all. Yeah. I'm focusing mainly on traffic related things that, and I've said this before, 90% of people who are going to encounter law enforcement are going to encounter them as a result of traffic, driving, And so I think those laws pertain to a broader populace than some of the other specific things here in Virginia that, again, are hot button topic issues right now. And so those are set to the side. Some of the things I picked out that I thought people may want to be aware of. We now have a program in Virginia where a court can decide, instead of suspending a driver's license of a subject who is recklessly driving by speed, instead of suspending their license, they can require them to have a speed monitoring device put on their vehicle.
I just saw one of those on the news. Drew Wilder on Channel 4 was in a car that had one of those and showed how it will not let you accelerate past the posted speed limit. It looked really cool.
This is kind of like the blow and go, the ignition interlock systems that are put on people who have been convicted of DUI for a certain period of time, and based on what entailed in their particular case, they may be required to have an interlock on their vehicle that they have to blow into before the car can be started. And of course, that's a cost that that person
They have
pays.
to,
It's like a
yes.
court-associated cost, but it's also a thing to try to make sure that you're obeying the law. Well, now the speed monitoring device is kind of the same thing. It will be at the cost of the driver, and it has to be on every car that they own or operate.
Oh.
And so that's in lieu of suspending a license. But here's something that I think, and I'll say are younger, but it's not just younger because we have some older idiots too. If you are traveling more than 100 miles an hour and you are caught and you are ticketed and you are convicted, the legislation now says that the courts shall require you to have that speed monitoring device on your vehicle for a set period of time. So people that are out here rolling the dice doing triple digits, because I don't think there's any time that a general member of the public should be driving that speed. If you are and you're convicted, don't be surprised when you have this on your vehicle for however long you do. There's also rapid point violations if you're out here habitually speeding, but you're not grossly speeding, 90, 95, 100, but you're doing 80 in a 70 and you get popped, and then you're doing 80 in a 55 and you get popped, and then you're doing 70 in a 55 and you get popped. DMV can then say, hey, we want you to have one of these because you need to slow down. That's one of the ones I think people might want to look into, okay? Helmets are now required. Whenever anybody 14 years of age or younger are riding on motorized skateboards or scooters, or even a non-motorized scooter.
And e-bikes. So e-bikes would be considered part of motorized?
This does not mention e-bikes. This specifically mentions those two modes of transportation, but there's separate legislation for e-bikes already. And I can tell you more localities are looking to develop county and town and city ordinances, their own, around state legislation
and
to focus on what their particular issues are. And I can tell you in Frederick County, anybody listening in Frederick County, we're already in talks with our county attorney looking to develop a local ordinance to try to get a handle on this from the safety aspect. Not restricting who can ride, but restricting where they can ride and how they can ride, especially those under the age of 16 or 15. Right. Okay? What's something else I marked here? There are now programs being put in place to help law enforcement interact better with drivers who may have been diagnosed with autism or are on the spectrum. So there's going to be training available to law enforcement. There are going to be packets available to drivers that they will be able to present upon being stopped that signifies to the law enforcement officer. And so here's how we're going to – it doesn't negate that those drivers still fall under the same rules of the road. Right. But it'll help mitigate and control the interaction taking place along the shoulder of the road.
And it may help if the driver hasn't necessarily been diagnosed with autism, but a child or another person in the car has. That could prevent something from getting out of hand very, very quickly.
We've talked about the hands-free law for years. I was a proponent. I testified down in front of the House of Delegates. We got the hands-free bill passed. At first, it was it was like restrictive in as far as enforcement and everything. And each year, it seems we're taking steps to make this a more fluid process. Not only something that is a deterrence to people from holding their phones, but also fair to people and being run across the board throughout the Commonwealth. Well, one of the things now, we went from, in the beginning, it had to be charged as reckless. There had to be a court appearance we changed it to it's a traffic infraction. You can still have your right to come to court, but you can prepay, and it was a set fine, and there was no alternative to the fine, to now where a first offender can be offered driver improvement course. If you take a driver improvement course, then first time. After that, though, hopefully you learn something in the class.
Right.
Speaking of cell phones, it's now illegal to live stream, to either initiate, be a part of, or interact with a live stream while you're driving. And I want to say I think I know why this came into being. For years in Virginia, it has been illegal for a driver to have any type of television or video monitor in their view while operating a vehicle. Like if you've ever been in an RV and they have
Right.
the TVs are always behind the driver.
Exactly. They're
so
for
that-
the people in the back seat.
So that a driver isn't being distracted by what's on the screen. Certain infotainment systems, they'll allow you to watch a video. The one in my Challenger, my 2012 Challenger, when I had it, you could put a DVD in and you could watch it, but not when the vehicle was moving.
Oh.
If the vehicle was moving, it
wouldn't play.
Correct, because you don't want the driver distracted. And these live streaming events that people are participating on, what are you doing when you're FaceTiming? I mean, it's called FaceTime for a reason. And you may say, well, I'm not looking at the screen. Well, we're not going to play and take that chance.
Yes.
The legislation now says you can't be doing it, and the phone doesn't have to be in your hand when you're doing it. The one girl I stopped a few months ago was actually FaceTiming with somebody, supposedly for a job interview, while she was trying to drive, and I'm looking right over at her, and she's interacting with the screen, and she was holding the phone. So, now even if she had it in a holder, that would be illegal.
I have a strict rule for the record that people are not allowed to record the radio show with me over Zoom if they're in their car unless their car is parked. You got 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Don't leave your unattended firearms in a motor vehicle unless they're
Why does
locked
that
up in a
even
box.
have to be
I
I don't understand. These are the people that should not have guns, but we're not even going to get into that.
I'm telling you, we have people who have reported firearms stolen from their vehicle, and where was the firearms? Well, it was on the seat. Stuff like that. So that's a new restriction, and I believe that's one that we should and can talk about, and not just because someone may see it and break into your car to take it, but because you never know. You may forget you've sat there and you tell your child, "Hey, go I left something in the back seat." You know, it's one of those common sense things that I think most people and most responsible gun owners are already doing this. We're just trying to pass it on that everybody needs to do that. So those are the new laws that I wanted to hit on here today. There are many more. You can Google it. You can go online. You can look at it. You can see those ones that we said are in the court systems now when it comes to bans on equipment and types of firearms, and you can side accordingly how you see fit. But those are the ones I thought the general populace and especially our drivers would want to know. So real quick about fireworks, just to answer any questions. Here it is, and this is directly from the Fire Marshal's office. Any firework that explodes, propels itself into the air, travels horizontally, shoots flaming balls, or otherwise are illegal in the state and in Frederick County. This is not limited, but includes mortars, rockets, Roman candles, artillery shells, and firecrackers, to name a few.
You said balls.
And you repeated it. I said fireballs, didn't I?
I don't know what you said. I said balls.
Wait.
The heat is getting to me, too.
Flaming balls. That's what it says.
Yes.
I read it verbatim.
Don't use them. There are plenty of fireworks being held across the Shenandoah Valley. You could probably see some tonight. I know you can see some on Friday. I know you can see multiple ones on Saturday. Just do that.
Hey, follow me out of Front Royal, because I have a feeling if I get on the interstate, you're going to see fireworks, because people are out there just today. It's like they've left their brain at home.
They're nuts. But
Look, here's the last thing I want to say,
right,
and
you
then
got
I'll let
30
you
seconds.
close it out. Please have a safe and happy 250th celebration of this great country that I love and that I hope all of you love. And, I'm looking for, today is 10,500th day of my career with the Frederick County Sheriff's Office.
Congratulations.